It was a lot of good years.
He is something special in so many, many ways.
We decided to buy a house together. We wanted to have kids.
I felt like I loved him, but it was such a bad situation.
And then, of course, I got pregnant and shit hit the fan.
If I was there, he would stay in line. He wouldn't hit her, or he wouldn't call her names.
I was like, what's the worst that could happen?
Stupid cunt!
And the first thing that happened that was kind of a red flag was his ex knocked on the door in the middle of the night. And I did not want to be woken up in the middle of the night by people yelling and screaming.
You're fat, fucking bitch!
I told him in no uncertain terms that this was unacceptable. And although he agreed, he was violent that day.
You're ugly!
I let stuff go because the family unit is such a beautiful thing.
He punched a wall and he made a hole in the wall of my apartment. I let it pass.
It became abusive like that. I mean, emotional and physical. It was fucked up.
And he would wait until I would go to the bathroom to say these things, you know, like sitting there on the toilet trying to pee really fast so that I could go back so he would stop.
I mean, like he only tried to throw things at me, or he only tried to choke me on the couch. I didn't have black eyes. I felt like I would have been taking up a resource that somebody else needed, or that, like, mine wasn't as bad, even though I was terrified for my life.
Like, this is not safe. Like, this is something is going to happen, and I have to be really careful. I knew it was fucked.
Things escalated. I started to think all his threats would become real actions. There would be these outbursts when he was drunk, not just towards me, but towards the children too.
I was doing really well, and then out of the blue, he texted me from somebody else's number, and he's like,
Please, just come meet me.
and so I ended up having sex with him. I asked a friend to come pick me up because I still didn't want him to know where I lived.
I don't necessarily want my grandfather thrown on the ground and handcuffed or thrown in jail.
Sometimes he'd be so wasted that I'd be scared he'd end up falling or go crawl into bed with the kids. So the kids were scared, and we all were, all the time.
It's a huge blank, a lot of it. The moments after, I remember thinking,
This isn't my life.
This isn't me.
This doesn't happen to me, right?
What was your part in it? It takes two to tango.
Fuck off.
I remember my mother talking to my grandmother in the other room, and my grandmother was telling her he hit me in the arm, he hit me in the leg. Like nobody ever confronted him about it. Nobody ever said, "What the hell?"
The neighbor looked at me as if I was the poorest thing in the world, and he said,
I'm really sorry.
we essentially got ostracized.
It was like such little support from this community. There's no cheap housing here. People knew who, I really need somewhere to go. I'm in a bad situation right now, and just saying that should be enough for people. I don't need proof. She says she's in a bad situation, she's in a bad situation. Like proof that it was really hard, that it was bad, you know.
Well, not only the community turned their back on me, but when I realized what was happening, I called my mom and I said, I'm going to leave him, but I was pregnant. She told me,
Oh, it's just your hormones. You're married now. You stay married. You're going to be able to get through this.
I made a date to talk with Maison Libérale, and I did it. Bald. And so much came out, too.
This is definitely a form of abuse. You should come and learn about it, because if you think there's another form that's worse, you're wrong.
I was like, really?
from that moment on, I felt trapped.
I felt enslaved.
I had a broken hand and a dislocated rib and all sorts of like bumps and bruises all over my body. And when I went to the police, literally not believed.
Police are a bit scary. Well, I mean, you never know what's going to happen if the police come, right? Like in your community, that's humiliating. And then the neighbors are talking.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Like, just like, what are the other options besides the police?
He also went to the police he got there ahead of me, so he has my child, of course, with him, and I'm frantic because my kids are in there after he literally tore the child from my arms. So I'm like, get me my kid. Get me my kid! Like he's in there, and they're like getting ready to be violent with me, the cops. And I said, look, I've been hit, I've been slammed by a car door, I don't know what has just happened to me, but I have an injury. I'm not okay. Like, she's like...
Well, you know, a man who hits a woman doesn't come to the police station.
And I realized there's nobody gonna help me here.
When I tried to get some therapy through Ottawa U and they were going to call child services, that really, really freaked me out. It made me feel like I shouldn't talk to anyone.
I got pregnant and I was like, great. I didn't tell him, and I just made a plan that I was going to move back to be with my family, and I was just going to be a single mom and like raise my baby and like be happy.
My own son.
My son.
He had escalating episodes that were violent and could have become more violent.
Every once in a while, I'd be like, oh God, you look just like the dude. And the other thing is, my son has a pretty bad temper.
I never felt like he would turn his rage directly towards me, but there were many times when that glass he threw against the wall could have gone into my eye or whatever.
Sometimes I find it hard to parent him because he berates me, and I start to feel like I'm in that relationship again. He's got a mean streak and the same manipulation, the same, like, you know, how to say something that would hurt somebody, and that's hurtful to me. And I'm like in his heart.
And he's my son. And I thought, well, if the police come over, this is not going to end well for him. No one is going to talk to him. Like my feeling the whole time was that he was going to experience some kind of violence.
I even got a message the other day from someone who used to live near, and they were like,
Yeah, we know,
but we're not going to judge.
like, please judge.
I'm fucking stronger and really self-aware. And I just believe myself, right? I wasn't being believed by others.
And it's not known that by a lot of people that this is how terrible emotional abuse is, has a huge effect, physically, mentally, on me, on my kids. The anger.
I ended up going to see 2 friends, and it was the first time I talked to anybody. I'm like, I caused this. And I've said all those words to them, and they were like, listen. They just like hugged me, and they loved me, and they said,
No, you didn't deserve this. You did not cause this.
they like went through the whole thing with me.
This is not okay.
And I was like, fuck. But the cops said, and they like,
Fuck the cops. She's an idiot, obviously. Like, she's a fucking idiot.
I mean, if something like this ever happened to me again, I wouldn't even deal with the cops. Like, I'd make sure someone else knew exactly how to proceed because they don't fucking give a shit.
I don't feel like my kids are safe. They don't want to be there. I feel like his anger. I don't know what he'd do if he couldn't be with the kids, you know? So I'm scared.
I became a person I did not want to be. Nobody wants to be trapped. And when you feel trapped, you do all kinds of things that are not logical anymore. I did things too because I was trapped, right? And when I was becoming violent and I was becoming aggressive, I was ashamed of who I was. And that was preventing me from getting out as well. Because now I thought, well, if I go out, like even if I say he's done this, I've done it too. So now we're both stuck.
Like, leaving would be easy anyway. Disrupting the kids, finding a place, rocking the boat, exposing yourself, creating a public, yeah.
Took me 5 years to get out of there, changing my behavior. I made friends in Al-Anon, and I've had people who offered.
If you're stuck, if you're not feeling safe, you have my phone. Just call me. Hop in the car and call me. We'll make room for you and the kids if you like. If you're able to.
So all of a sudden, I was discovering I was not alone, and slowly I managed to get out.
Overall, there has been really, really huge kindness.
I make choices in my life every day. We have a no-yell zone in our home. Yeah, that's a rule. Like if you want to yell in this house, you have to leave because it's not going to happen here.
So I have a really great life now. It's actually a happy ending for me. I think it sucks that it happened.
I feel like even just talking about it is going pretty deep. Yeah, admitting it.
Safety. All I need to know, and all any woman needs to know, is like, if someone's not being nice, if someone's being hurtful on purpose, like, it's fucking not cool. Yeah, it's not fine.
It means trust.
Safety is home, warmth,
Wishing it could get better.
being able to say whatever is on your mind and not worry about being judged or made fun of.
Whether he gets in trouble or not, I think there has to be some non-judgmental support.
You trust your neighbor, but not the lawyer, the doctor, and the police.
Financial stability.
Closeness. To feel people coming in and, like, holding you. Like, oh yeah. That it would feel so good.
I've always been a really strong woman. I feel so lucky. I do feel safe with women. I feel safe with most women.
But there has to be like some safety in numbers and people like you. Just have to get it out there, and you have to verbalize what's happening to you, because you keeping it to yourself and pretending it's not happening isn't going to make it better.
Open your damn eyes. You don't get to pretend that you can't see what's happening anymore.